All right, I'll call this Monday, April 21st, Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors meeting to order. Roll call, Angie?
Sean Becker,
Here.
Betty Brusky Malik,
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Here.
Rick Murden,
Here.
Ron Rasmussen,
Here.
Chuck Spargo,
Here.
Ari Vang,
Here.
Terry Whitmore,
Here.
Ryan Zebo.
This April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors and all other meetings of the board and/or its committees is open to the public in compliance with state statutes. Notice of this meeting has been sent to news media and designated persons in an attempt to make the citizens of the Mid-State Technical College District aware of the place, time, and agenda of the meeting. Open forum. The open forum is at the option of the board chairperson, and ground rules have been established to ensure the orderly conduct of business. This is a meeting of the district board open to the public and not a public hearing. Persons who wish to address the district board may make a statement as long as it pertains to a specific agenda item. Individuals should not expect to engage in discussion with the members of the district board. The district board chairperson may or may not respond to statements made. Is there anybody here in that regard? No. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 17th.
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Consent agenda item. We have the payment of bills and payroll in the amount of over $1 million. We have contracted service agreements. We have procurement of goods and services and the approval of hires and resignations. Any comments on the consent agenda?
We reviewed those in our Financial and Infrastructure Committee meeting, and while there were questions that didn't get answered because of only 15-minute meeting time,
right.
Carrie is gonna follow up with us answering those questions through email afterwards, so we were satisfied with the results of all those items. So I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Angie?
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Ari Vang,
Yes.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Betty Brusky Malik,
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Rick Murden.
Yes. Board chairperson's report. Thank you for attending us this evening, this Monday, Easter Monday. Board appointment. The Mid-State completed the 2025 board appointment process, and I think Ari has something to tell us.
Yes, I wanted to just let everyone know that this is my last term, or last year with the board. It will be done. Will be done in June here. I've appreciated the opportunity to be on the board. I first served here 4 years ago. Started off in 2021, I believe, right at the end of COVID there. And it was actually the Ameta project that had brought my attention to being on the board. I remember Shelley and Bobby, and I think Ryan might have been there too. And I was working at McCain Foods at that time in HR there, and remember them coming in asking to be sponsors of the Ameta program, and I just thought what a great project that was. And being part of the board really helped me understand a lot of what that project actually became today. And then all the other things that Mid-State does so well. So I've appreciated the time. Mainly the reason for the leaving the board, because I probably wouldn't have if I didn't have another obligation. I do serve as president of the HR Association in Stevens Point. So that's been taking up a lot of my time as well. But hopefully in the future, I will be able to come back and join the board.
We'd love to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chuck and Ryan have both been reappointed to 3-year terms on the board, so congratulations there. And the college will begin the appointment process in search of an employee member to begin in July. Spring Boards Association meeting was held April 11th at the Wilderness Resort. Comments on that? Chuck?
It was primarily an election of officers, and then we had a working session talking about the reorganization of the DBA in terms of staffing. It was very well run, very quickly done, but productive meeting.
Some very close votes. but
Yeah.
I think I can say that the mid-state representatives were pleased with the results of the election, and the last, the at-large position, both Chuck and I were, what do they call them? What were we
You were
called?
tellers.
Tellers.
Yeah.
Chuck and I were tellers. And we went through the first vote was 7-7. Went through the second vote, it was 7-7. For the third vote, we happened to pull up somebody from Medicine, the voting rep from.
That wasn't in attendance,
Wasn't in attendance on
but
Zoom,
participated virtually.
virtually.
For that third vote.
For the
finally
third
broke the
vote,
tie.
and so it was a 8-7 for that last at-large member, so a little drama there, and but everything worked out well. Any other
And,
comments?
well, for my comment, I would hope that if you talk to anybody in our association, that we recommend that all our colleges stay together and do DBA justice by participating. Our executive committee is meeting on Friday, this Friday, and we will be reviewing the third option of the full-time employee. And then we have DBA board meetings April 28th, so after our executive meeting on Friday, recommendations will go to the full board on the 28th. And then we have another executive meeting, not executive, but another DBA meeting scheduled for May 16th to hopefully get our budgets in place. And so with a 0% increase is being proposed for our dues. So we'll see what that'll be like, and that'll come out of our April 16th meeting. So all in all, it went well.
So just for perspective, you know, the District Boards Association used to have, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 employees.
3 full-time.
The director, Steve Tempest, who was, I'm not sure what his
Program or
program director, he
Education.
put together a lot of the quarterly meetings, and then a office assistant or
Yes.
something like that.
yes.
Unfortunately, Steve passed away, and Layla left to be the new
State.
WTCS president, so that left us with one full-time employee for the association, so that a lot of the discussion after the voting was on different options for staffing.
Well, and now we have teams as
Yes.
of. when did they start?
Facilitator of,
And they have
A consulting group.
Yes.
consulting group, and they will take over the financing portion that is being given up by Fox Valley. So we're in transition, and I think things are looking well. We'll just give the new executive committee time to reorganize, and once we make a decision on the executive director, I think the other positions will fall in place real easy. So, that's
guess-
an update.
Just to review, the purpose of the district boards is both education of us as trustees, but also lobbying on behalf of all district, all colleges across, the 16 colleges across the state, in front of the legislature and in Washington DC for federal and state support of education for the technical colleges.
and I'd say that right now, we're held in very high regard, so we wanna maintain
Technical
that.
colleges
Yes, we
in
wanna
general.
maintain that perspective.
And we want all 16 colleges to participate.
Yes, and I think both candidates there was 2 candidates for the president, both gave very good perspectives on positively moving forward, and delivering greater value to trustees, which would make them want to participate more. ACCT Leadership Congress is coming up in October 22nd through the 25th in New Orleans. Focus is reimagining community college innovation for a changing world. If you're interested in attending, please let Angie know. Spring board advance has been scheduled. It'll be Monday, May 19th, prior to the board meeting, beginning at noon. Lunch will be provided. Draft agenda will be distributed. Our next meeting will be Monday, May 19th, prior to or I should say, following the board advance. Plan to meet at Wisconsin Rapids here again. Committee meetings will begin at 4:15. Committee of the whole will begin at 5, so you'll have a little bit more time, Chuck, to get all your questions answered. That's all I have. Shelley?
Yes, a few things, just because it's a busy time. So we have been doing our ongoing work to be ready for our HLC visit. Our accreditation visit is next Monday and Tuesday, April 28th and April 29th. We've been talking about these dates for years, I think, but it is coming to a reality Monday and Tuesday. We did receive the final agenda for the Monday and really the half a day on Tuesday. A thank you to our board members that are going to be representing the district board, and that would be Chuck and Rick and Ryan. They did come to a preparation visit that we had and did an outstanding job. I did drop an email to all of you with the feedback that we had received, and pretty much do exactly what you did the first time, because you really came across well to the people that were talking with you. So you will see, though, in front of you, you do have the timetable. And again, your time is going to be at the Ameta Center. So if you have a conflict, let me know. But otherwise, we're expecting that at least 3 of you would be able to be there. If something has changed and somebody else is able to make it, let me know, because we do know the visit now is April 28th. And again, we'd have to kind of get you prepped a little bit before that visit. But I know we're going to do an outstanding job. Beth has done a great job of preparing us as a college, and I would just say we're ready for the show. So we're ready. We also, talking about HLC, they did have their annual meeting in Chicago. In the last few years, we've been sending a number of mid-state staff to be able to participate in that conference, and I believe we have a picture. So we sent faculty, managers, staff, and they represented well. We definitely thought with having an HLC visit soon, we wanted to make sure to hear any of the latest that could be possibly impacting us, but all is good. So very happy that we did have a team there. They are going to stay in Chicago one more year. We were thinking they were going to be moving out west, and this may be our last year. They're going to be in Chicago one more year. So for right now, we'll always try to kind of send a bigger group until they go out west. Then we'll definitely be down to more of a skeleton team just because of cost.
Did they take the Cougar van?
They do not. They do not. They all individually. They were all coming from.
Okay.
Everybody was coming from
Different
somewhere
places,
because when you
yeah.
think of the ambassador dinner last week,
Yeah.
so everybody was traveling in some way. We also had a reviewer last week on our Wisconsin Rapids campus. So our CNA program, our Certified Nursing Assistant, we did have a reviewer. Every 2 years, that program gets reviewed, and Lisa is our program director. She does an outstanding job. And the preliminary information we received it's a great program. We're not expecting any substantial problems at all, and that's what I'm expecting. Last week also last week was a busy week. I held my spring college conversation, something where I put out 7 different sessions, 5 in person at every campus, 2 that were virtual, to really come and just talk with me. And I have a few things that I want to discuss, but really a time that staff can ask me questions. And I'm happy to say we had over 160 people that took the time to attend one of those sessions, which maybe did not surprise me too much because there's a lot going on in the news, a lot of concern about what's happening in education, but just so happy that so many people would think there's a value to come and sitting down with me. I really, really appreciated that. One of the things I did give to the people that were in person is we received our new 2025 to 2030 strategic plan pin, which you have at your spot. And this is a pin that really shows where we're headed, which is really continuing to be that college for our communities. You will note that there are 5 little arrows that come off of that, the little bullets, and that really reminds us per se of what we're going to be focusing on in the next 5 years. And I won't give you a quiz, but it's about educational quality and accessibility and identity, community engagement in our district. And we're hoping at the board advance, we're going to share with you a little skit that we did for the college to help people remember what those 5 areas are that we're going to be focusing on the next 5 years. So I really hope that our next 5-year outcomes will be achieved like this last 5 years, because we've done some amazing, amazing things. But I wanted you to have that pin.
Can you remind us what the mnemonic is?
Dylan educated Ida about college. Did I do it? Yes. Look at that. I didn't give a quiz, but I got one. I think I passed. So, but yes, and that will really help you. You know, the D is district and so forth. So, and you're going to see in that skit. You won't forget it. You won't forget it. We also last Monday night we had our Phi Theta Kappa induction ceremony, which is our academic honor society, and it's always nice to celebrate academic excellence. It's a great ceremony. May graduation, right around the corner. I can't believe it. Really our last term of our year. I'm happy to share that Joe Fonte, who some of you may know, part owner of Furniture and Appliance Mart, Rafters, Baseball, was also a huge supporter of our Meta project. We asked him to be our community speaker. He has accepted. So we're really excited to have him come in and address the graduates. And then Chris has selected Diesel faculty and Diesel student to be the other speakers for graduation. So it's coming up. Also, from just a local standpoint, I wanted to mention, kind of moving into community, that UWSP Chancellor Tom Gibson, if you are not aware, the news has come out that he is going to be becoming the chancellor at UW Milwaukee. So he will be leaving UW Stevens Point, and as you know, this is our #1 transfer organization, so we'll just be watching that very closely. We wish Tom all the best, but definitely, again, could that change any partnership possibilities? You just never know. I would sure hope not. I would hope it would only strengthen with whoever the new person will be named. Also with community, Synergy, local economic development, they had Central Wisconsin Days in Wisconsin. I was able to attend a portion of that. We also attended their Workforce Solutions Summit at the Food and Farm Exploration Center. On March 21st, Midstate hosted the Chamber for Wisconsin Rapid, the Heart of Wisconsin's legislative breakfast on campus. I can tell you that this room was full. I think, Ron, you might have been there. Great participation, great engagement. Also, as far as other events, we did have a team down at the Adams Chamber annual dinner last Thursday. Great time. Along with, we had attended one of the Boys and Girls Club of Portage County events, as well as a team on April 4th. A lot of things going on. Marshfield area is also having a chamber CEO networking meetings, and on April 8th, my schedule allowed that I was able to attend that and really brainstorming about what else does Marshfield need. So I was glad I was able to do that. From a WTCS standpoint, just a couple things. April 10th and 11th, busy days. Most of us were in Wisconsin Dells, so I had participated in a joint meeting with Chris's team and Mandy's team, the vice presidents of academic and student services, as well as the wonderful ambassador dinner. I think we have a picture of that, where we were able to celebrate our mid-state ambassador, Elizabeth Cummings, and she is a university transfer student. So I bet Angie's going to bring that up. And then the next day I was able to attend again. There they are. And Elizabeth is right in the middle with her mom and dad that were so proud of her. Just a great group to celebrate.
Can you see
With-
that the dad is wearing a kilt?
Mm-hmm.
So we had an interesting discussion. He's actually, what is he, like Lord and Lady? They own some land. His family history is from Scotland, and he owns 1 square yard in Scotland on some estate or whatever. So officially they can be known as whatever, Lord and Lady or something like that.
And now that this is public, he's going to get a lot of different calls about that land in Scotland, right? But just a wonderful, that event, and we talk about this for all board members, we would love for you to come to that, because I think it really reminds you the impact of what we do every day. It's such a great event. And because of that, there's a lot of state meetings that are coordinated around that date to get the best attendance. So that Friday then I also attended the meeting with Chris, but then I was able to walk over and attend the DBA meeting, which I very much enjoy doing that.
Could I share one of the stories at the ambassadors? So you have 16 reps, and they all have these individual stories, and there's a lot of tears that go on with that. But one that really struck me was this woman was in emergency emergency room physician for 5 years in Cuba. It took her 3 years to get the process, go through the process to come over here. And as so often happens, with different licensing or whatever, she is in the program for emergency services. But to talk to her and stuff and listen to that story, and the culture shock of coming from a system in Cuba to our system was quite interesting. But what a range, somebody from the Navy, somebody with autism, somebody that suffered abuse, just many different stories, and you see them all
Yes, right.
doing so well.
You would think there's some criteria because when you listen to all 16, they're all so different. And you pick your own, and then it's just amazing how there's nobody else that has that same story. So yeah, great, just a great night. And I think part of it is seeing the parents and the family just really celebrating the student as well. So there's so many emotions that night, very much. The next WTCS State Board meeting will be in May, and that's going to be the middle of May, and I will be attending that. We have president's meeting to follow. There's a lot that's happening with the presidents right now. Just from a legislative standpoint, we actually are having phone calls to all stay connected. But there are some news. So Madison College today named their new president, and that is going to be Dr. Jennifer Byrne, B-E-R-N-E. I'm not sure if it's Byrne or pronounced as Bernie. She's coming from a college in Michigan. She would be a counterpart to Chris Severson, and she'll begin her role at Madison College on July 1. And then also we want to say congratulations to our sister colleges, Southwest Technical College. They received the National Aspen Award as being the best community college in the nation. So when you talk about, gosh, that really applauds our system. Also, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay, they were named a top 10. So when you think of the top 10, and 2 of them are coming from our system, it's a really great thing to see. There's a number of criteria that they use, but we just want to say congratulations to both of those colleges. And that would end my report unless there's any questions.
All right, moving on to committee reports, finance and infrastructure. Chuck?
Okay, we have already addressed the consent agenda items, so we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Page 29 just shows a couple of items, grants that were approved. So budget modifications or establishing the budgets for those 2 grants. In terms of the revenue and expenses, $15,000 roughly, so the budgeted fund balance change is only $332. Very minor notifications for this month. Moving on to the next page, page 30 shows the budgeted revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity. The current budget for the 9 months ending March 2025, just reflecting the 2 changes that were on the prior page. Carrie also noted that a couple of shifts occurred to correct some things from prior month, but the bottom line still remains unchanged except for the $332 on Fund 1 and for the total current budget. So very minor changes there. The next page, 31, shows the current actuals for the 9 months ending March 2025. We're 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year. We've recognized or received about $350,000 in revenue this month in Fund 1, $934 in all funds of revenue were recognized or received. So the total funds received year to date is $53 million, roughly 88% of the budget year to date. In terms of expenditures, expenditures in Fund 1 exceeded revenue. We had $2.7 million of expenditures in Fund 1, $3.5 million total expenditures in all funds, and $50.4 million year-to-date expenditures, representing about 71% of the budget. So we're 3/4 of the way through the year. We've received 88% of our revenue, and only expended 71% of our expenditures. So we're ahead of the game here, and I'll point out, as often been done in the past, Fund 1 is where we have the most control. And salaries and wages are at 71%, so under budget. Benefits are 68%, again, under budget. And current expenditures are only 60% of budget, so well under the 75% that we've seen year to date. So just in Fund 1, we're nearly $3 million to the good so far, and half of that is in salaries and benefits, wages and benefits, and that is a significant improvement in our financial situation, and good job, staff, for managing that well. That's great. Obviously, current expenditures will probably catch up on some of that. We'll get closer to the 100%, but doing very well so far. We've now seen down the other sources and uses of revenue down below, we've now received all of the debt proceeds for the year. That happened in the last couple months, where the additional $2.5 million was received. So we've now received all $7.5 million in those funds. I think that's all I had on the current actuals. Next page shows, page 32 is the balance sheet, showing that we've got almost $30 million in cash and investments, which is up $400,000 from last month and $1.2 million compared to last year. So our financial position is very strong. Unless there are any questions, that concludes the treasurer's report. The next item on our agenda here is the FY26 capital budget that was presented in a special meeting before the committee meeting this afternoon. It started at 3. We had 5 board members there, but I think, Carrie, were you going to do any summary of that, or are we just going to wait for the whole budget to be wrapped up with the capital budget? But it was a very nice presentation of the capital budget that's now been put into the board portal. It wasn't there until just before our meeting, but it's there now. But just a bottom line summary, we've got $9.5 million in total capital budget needs. $7.5 million of that will be funded through bonds like we did this year, and $2.5 million roughly will come from other sources, grants primarily. So you'll see more of that later on. We've got a resolution in your board packet for the modifying the budget year to date. We have the notifications month by month, but twice a year we have a resolution approving, thank you, approving formally all of the changes. That's on, I think, well, it's labeled at page 33 in your budget book. A total of $6.5 million appropriation change for a modified total appropriation of $71,055,000. So twice through the year we have these budget amendments. Once comes this time of year and the other in October after the audit is essentially complete. So I'd make a motion that we accept the budget amendment in the board packet for
Second.
2025.
Second.
Roll call. Roll call, Angie?
Gary Whitmore,
Yes.
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Betty Bruce-Malley.
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Ari Vang,
Yes.
Rick Murray.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda was the bid number 841 for the oral health remodel. I don't know if that's in the board portal yet or not, but it was shared with us. There were 4 bidders responding. The bids were opened on April 8th and compared. The bids went from 1.175 million low to a high of $1.3 million, 1,321,000. And the bid was awarded, or the recommendation is we award the bid to Ascent Construction, and we have had experience with them before. And it was pointed out that the original estimate was more like $1.5 million, so this came in well under that, which is really amazing
That's good,
in this
isn't it?
Yeah.
time and circumstances. So I'd make a motion that we accept bid number 841, awarding to Ascent Construction for $1,175,900.
I'd second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call, Angie?
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Betty Bruschi Miller.
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Harry Vane,
Yes.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Rick Martin.
Yes.
Okay, and the last item on our agenda was an informational section. We've set a special meeting for the reviewing the operational budget. It's going to be held on Wednesday, May 14th, starting at 2:30 p.m. I presume we'll have this room for that, or is it going to be in 8223? Do we know yet?
We
Okay.
don't know that yet, but we'll make notice.
Okay, so mark the calendars, all board members are welcome to attend. That's Wednesday, May 14th at 2:30, and it typically lasts about an hour and a half. If there are no questions, that would conclude the Finance and Infrastructure Committee report.
Chuck, before we conclude that, could I ask the board to take action on the FY26 capital budget topic? You provided the
Oh.
information for it, but this would be the point we'd want to approve that.
Oh, okay,
I would so move that we approve the recommendation on the capital budget.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, Angie?
Harry Vane,
I do have a question, sorry.
Okay.
Where did we talk about that? Was that the packet you were talking about earlier that was in the? Oh, yeah, that one, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That was why we hold that special meeting at 3 o'clock today. That we
Oh.
kind of go, every vice president goes through their detail, and then typically it gets presented, most of the time the finance committee members are there, and then they, of course, bring it to the full board. But the detail of that capital budget, there will be a little detail of the capital budget that will be shared when we do the operational budget. But the bigger stuff you'll see is in that special meeting. High level though, Ari, I think what you would find is, I think over 3.5 million of that 7.5 is going to be with technology, software. And the 2 large projects would be the Adams Center and then our dental hygiene. There's definitely some smaller projects, or not projects, but smaller equipment. Like we're going to be getting a wayfinding robot for Meta, which we're very excited about. We'll be buying some VR goggles, things of that sort. A lot of the technology, it is again, everything from cybersecurity, software to, gosh, everybody, there's so many different things. But we can, if you would like a copy of that, or it is on the portal
on the
now,
portal.
you can see the detail, Ari.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Chuck. I know you kind of went over it earlier, but trust the committee on that, vetting through that. So yes for me.
Thank
Carrie
you.
sent me information on it earlier today, and I missed that, so I probably had a better report if I'd have caught that email from Carrie. Thank you for catching that.
Okay.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Betty Bruschi Miller.
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Rick Martin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Academic and Student Services Committee, Sean.
Yeah, a couple things to take action on. The first thing is the global education. Midstate provides opportunities for students to study abroad and other travel educational experiences. We are in the process of planning 2026 for the following experiences. London, the May 2026 London Short-Term Cultural Experience Program offers a rich academic and cultural experience for up to 16 eligible mid-state students. Over 9 days, participants will explore key cities such as Churchill War Rooms, the Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, the British Museum, Windsor Castle, the Hampton Court Place. The trip is bundled with the 1 credit Global Cultural Experience course, which includes pre-trip preparation, on-site learning and activities, and post-trip reflection to enhance global awareness and intercultural competence. The other one is Germany. The June 2026 German Exchange is a 10-day educational and cultural exchange. Our participants will travel to a city near Frankfurt, where they will be accommodated by a German host families and students. These days are full of sightseeing and popular tourist destinations. Seeking the board to approve international travel, and we're asking for approval for both of these experiences. So make a motion to approve it.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Is this a vocal or roll call, please?
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Betty Christina.
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Ari Bang,
Yes.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Rick Murray.
Yes.
Okay, the next one that we'll have to vote on is, we need board approval for admission, waitlist, special circumstances. State statute TCS 10.07 outlines its procedures for student admissions within the Wisconsin Technical College system, emphasizing equitable access and the management of waitlists. The statute requires that program admissions be conducted in a fair and non-discriminatory manner, and also allows the consideration of special circumstances that may warrant variations from standard waitlist procedures. Over the last year, we have been working as a system to align program admission and waitlist policies. Standard program waitlist procedures across the system are based on application date and in-district, in-state, and out-of-state residency, as well as academic preparedness. Each college may have a different special circumstance approved by their board. Board approval is being requested for the UWSP 1+2+1 nursing program, Law Enforcement Academy, and Jail Academy. Details are at your seat. The statute and policy is implemented only when there are more students than seats available. The only program consistently using a waitlist in recent years has been nursing. I make a motion to approve the program admission waitlist special circumstances for 24 seats for the UWSP 1+2+1 nursing program, 49% of the Law Enforcement Academy seats for employer-sponsored individuals, and 49% of the Jail Academy seats for employer-sponsored individuals.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Okay, I'm confused. So is this saying that, so if a program has an ordinary wait list, there may be circumstances that are brought to the board to consider, or?
No, what it's saying is that we hold so many seats per semester or per year based on this arrangement. So you're basically saying that it's okay for us to do that. So for us to have the 1+2+1 with UW Stevens Point, we've had to work with UW Stevens Point to make that determination, how many students can we accept?
Okay.
So basically, we're holding spots in our program for those students. Therefore, we have a different wait list because we won't go down one more on our list to make sure we have one that is available with that agreement. So anytime we're holding seats because of a partnership, we need to have you as our local board approve that that's okay to do that. And currently, the only 3 areas where we do hold seats open are these 3. So once you give us this blanket, then you've given us that approval and we can continue to do that. So it's not that you will be approving this often, it's just one time to get it on the books to say, you're aware that for these 3 entities, because of partnership, we have seats to be able to have that partnership. If we did not have that, we wouldn't be able to do like a 1 + 2 + 1, because there's only, for that, Rick, probably the best relatable piece that I can share, there's clinical sites. So we have to make sure that we have ample clinical sites for UWSP students and for mid-state students. So we can't take a full, let's say 64 students on our wait list. We have to make sure that we're holding 24 seats for that partnership agreement.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
My only concern would be, or just to clarify, when we do that, that will not, is it possible that we'd have wasted spots? If we say 24 spots are for this, if we don't have,
With these partnerships, we always fill.
always fill, okay.
These are long-term partnerships, and in fact, sometimes our partners will even ask for more seats, especially like
Okay.
1 + 2 + 1. But this number is only what we are really committed to. But in the future, I know UWSP would love to expand their partnership, but again, based on clinical site availability, Mandy and her team determine that.
Yeah, and if there would be any reason those numbers from UWSP or so forth would go down,
Yeah,
then they're not just held specifically for them. We can go to the rest of our wait list.
okay.
They have like a deadline that they
Yes.
have to give us
Okay,
their
that's,
numbers.
I just didn't wanna see anything, because we're reserving or
Right.
something that we have
Yeah.
seats unfilled.
Yeah, and same thing with the academies, if there are not employer-sponsored students, and there are more of the others, then, we would fill those seats as well. And the academies, we haven't typically in recent years had, wait lists. So this is a kind of preliminary, just in case.
Okay, all right.
Good question.
Any other
Good
questions?
question. Good question.
Is this a roll call?
It is, the last one. Betty Bruce Knopf,
Yes.
Kim Johnson,
Yes.
Ron Rasmussen,
Yes.
Chuck Spargo,
Yes.
Ari Vane,
Yes.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Sean Becker,
Yes.
Rick Merton.
Yes,
Okay, then some information, to end with on our committee. Mid-State Technical College continues to strengthen its commitment to the community engagement and workforce alignment through its partnership with the Marshfield Job Center. The shared space at Mid-State on Central is located near Festival Foods in Marshfield, has now become an access point for both educational and employment services as of April 1st. The partnership was established to improve access for job seekers and students by offering a wraparound service in a single convenient location. By co-locating services, Mid-State and Marshfield Job Center aim to reduce barriers, streamline referrals, and provide timely support for training, reskilling, and employment readiness. Benefits of the partnership include clients can be referred between agencies for services such as WIOA-funded training, GED completion, short-term certificates, and employer connections. Collaboration on career advising, resume support, training programs, and job placement. That's all I have.
thank you.
Is that gonna mean that center's gonna be having more hours that are open?
Mhm.
Excellent.
I shouldn't say expansion, but we're sharing the space per
We're sharing
se,
the
but
space.
right now it's not expanded hours as a
Yeah,
whole.
they're going to be open, between the hours of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 9 to 3.
But do we have someone staffed there during those times?
We do, yes.
Okay.
We just thought it was a great partnership
Mhm.
opportunity. We were very excited, and we're still trying to kind of figure out how to use that site. So when that possibility came up, we were like, oh, we would love for you to partner with us, so.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Next, the Human Resources External Relations Committee, review of consent agenda items. We had a list of, there was one hire in the nursing program For informational items, we were introduced to members of the Human Resources and Payroll group. Let's see if I can see. We have Kathy from Payroll. Kathy, could you stand up so everybody can see who you are? This is Kathy.
Wave.
Drua, did I get that, Drua?
Drew.
She's been with us for 24 years. And they're going to be going through this, as Brad was talking about, anthology coming up, so pray for her.
They've already been going through it.
Andrea Johnson is the HR manager. Andrea, come on, stand. All right. She's been here with us for 13 years, and she's dealing with all kinds of the HR things, including legal compliance and all kinds of keeping track of everything. So thank you for what you're doing there. And Janelle Swoboda has been there a year and a half. So welcome aboard, and she helps out the rest of the staff there. And there's a Karen, how do you pronounce that? No. And we all know Karen. So it was nice to meet the group. So thank you for introducing them all.
So they, we'll go live in 2 weeks, they got work to do, they're gonna take their exit and go back to work.
Okay. We also had a information from Craig on, you have your new something for everyone, continuing education opportunities. So take a look, the first 2 pages there are summer camps and stuff, and very interesting that on page, what would it be, page 3. On page 3, on the upper left, Manufacture Your Ride, Scooter Design Workshop, sold out in 4 hours. So indicates demand or interest, both. And then also, if you look at the inside of the back cover, there's a conference coming up, Wisconsin Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference, coming up in June. So some great information there, and if I think there is additional ones, additional copies.
Extras, if anybody wants to take for your family and friends, distribute them, please.
And you know, we just were at the Gourmet Cafe, so I might find something in here.
Bottle
Oh, what's the wine one? Exploring Chardonnay wine. Okay, so.
And if I can just do a shameless plug, if you're not sure, on the back page, you can buy a gift card to be able to give someone for a gift for them to be able to use for them to be able to pick their class.
Oh, nice. Very
Did
nice.
you say the scooter one is already filled?
4 hours. It filled out in
I had
4
a
hours.
circled.
You know, I'd like to know the logistics of that, right? When it gets out there, and how do people know it? And
Yeah.
that it fills up that fast, you
Yeah.
know? Like the Taylor Swift concerts or something.
There's no wait list.
Right, I was gonna say.
I don't know.
Can the board approve a wait list for this one?
I love that. I love that. I know we were challenging Chris.
Go out on a limb here and say that, you know, based on feedback from the community, we also just launched a new registration system. So
Okay.
if you've tried it in the past and have had some trouble, we have a new system, would welcome your feedback, because we're making improvements to that every day as well.
I don't know if they resell any of those registrations or not. So secondary market, you know, StubHub or something.
That was free, so anything you sell.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. Let's see, Committee of the Whole. Okay, we had an excellent exposure to the culinary, the Gourmet Cafe, and the students in the culinary program who made us dinner tonight. Wonderful job there. We also had an update on anthology and the work that's going into that. The next go live date is May 5th for HR, so they're getting ready for that. Good to see all of the collaboration that's going through this I don't know if I say painful process or, painful process.
Growing, how about that?
There we
Growing
go.
process.
Growing process, okay. Yeah, ERPs are always a challenge. That leads us to discussion and action. We've got some information on grant outcomes from Mickey and Sarah.
So as they walk up, this is Mickey's last
Yeah.
board meeting with us.
I know.
She
But not,
has,
hopefully not the last time I see you all.
she has a week and a half, thank you, left. We haven't announced it to the college yet, but we will be naming Sarah as our new grants director.
And Sarah, you gonna tell us where you come from and everything?
Yeah, I was gonna say we have
Okay.
an introduction plan. If
All
you
right.
wanna go
I have
ahead.
a slideshow and everything.
Oh, okay.
I was just doing the math. This was my last grant season. We have the WTCS grant seasons. I participated in 18 years
Oh, wow.
of grant seasons, which are competitive. That is one thing I won't miss. And I'll miss a lot, especially I'll miss Midstate and all my colleagues here, but.
And the board, of course.
And of course the board, this one and the foundation board. But I will not miss, this Christmas will be the first time I'm not writing grants over breaks. But
Sarah will be.
Sarah will. She doesn't know, I mean, she doesn't know what she's in for. But yeah, so this is my last visit with all of you, and it's been a pleasure working with Midstate, and I'm gonna miss it terribly, but I promise I will be back next year for the foundation golf outing. I've made that commitment already.
What about the trap shooting?
No, trap shoot's not my thing.
Okay.
But definitely golf is my thing. You know
Okay.
that about me.
So I'll give a little bit of an introduction then. As Mickey and Karen said, I'm Sarah King. I've been with Midstate full-time since last August, but I've actually been a part-time faculty for 3.5 years. And I'm an alum, so I often joke you just can't get rid of me. I keep coming back. I'm originally from Plainfield, so the district is my home always. I live in Plover with my daughter and 2 dogs. I then finished my bachelor's degree in management at UW Stout and my MBA at UW Whitewater about 1.5 years ago, all with an emphasis in project management. So that's my educational background. Previously, I was with Associated Bank for about 9 years working in the contact center space. Most recently as a VP overseeing the contact center technology, workforce management, and all of the data analytics.
I joke, because with the transition to all the projects that I was working on, I had Sarah come in one day and I said, Sarah, project manage me. And she did. She made, this is what you need to do.
And there's like 4 things left on her board. So
Yeah, I'm almost
we're
done.
doing great.
And so she's like a very talented project manager. So we're very fortunate that she chose to come, and I'm feeling like very confident in her skills. But like we said, grants are only made possible by everybody who works at the college. We are definitely a collaborative team when it comes to grant work. We really embrace the professional collaborative environment. And every year it starts with our Cougar Cage, as you remember us talking about our Cougar Cage events, and that really leads us to do our grant development. So we, as part of all that, we have Kathy Bruckbauer, who works as our grants compliant coordinator. She's really managing, as you know, our workforce innovation grant, which is pretty large, plus the EDA grant money that we receive from MATA and the Department of Administration grant funds. And then Shelley Weichelt in the business office is our business services accountant who kind of makes sure all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted so we can get reimbursed. So that's a very important role that she has, working with the grants team. And then ELT and ALT and SSLT are all involved in the development work from start to finish, along with our faculty and services teams. It really takes a village to manage grants from the inception to the closeout.
So what is ALT and SSLT?
Oh, sorry, academic leadership team
Okay.
and student services leadership team.
Okay.
Gotta watch my acronyms, right?
So this is a little bit of an overview. We'll take a deep dive into each of the categories and each of the grants, but these are the grants we wrote for that were successful in securing for the most recent competitive grant year. So as you can see, we finished just shy of $2 million with 1 award still pending, so a little over $1.8 million awarded through the most recent cycle. Some things that I really wanted to call out for awareness, the AEFLA, which is our adult education and literacy grants, those are only competitive every 4 years. So you can go back still. Sorry. Those are only competitive every 4 years. So Midstate has been approved to have those grants through fiscal year 29. The amount may change. We'll still have to submit narratives and budgets for each year subsequent to that, but we have now been awarded. So the next time we'll have to apply for that is for fiscal year 30. One thing that was of note across the system, there were no collaborative consortium grants. If you think back to grants we've talked about in the past, we're almost always working with a sister college to develop a program or share best practices. No one across the system submitted a consortium grant that was approved this year. So I think we all say we're experiencing a little bit of grant fatigue.
It's definitely grant fatigue, and it's cycles like this. When we went through, you might remember back during the recession, we had the trade adjustment assistance, where we were getting we were doing massive consortium grants. Well, we're in that place right now too. We're doing massive consortium grants. We right now, Midstate's involved in 2 federal Department of Labor grants. So we're starting to have kind of grant fatigue, and so this year, we knew going into it that people were not interested in doing consortiums, they just need a year off. So I was really surprised. I thought maybe 1 college would, 0 were submitted.
So yeah, the EduStat and Sparks and Parts grants taking up a lot of time across the colleges, really large collaborative grants, so sort of taking the place of that, meaning that we got more, some of the colleges got more individual grants. We do have 1 grant application that was just submitted in March for the Integrated Education and Training Grant, or IET. That was a $200,000 application, and that will be reviewed. We'll know more by the May WTCS board meeting. We did have 2 grants, unfortunately, this year that were not successful. One in that AEFLA category. It was a very small, about a $22,000 grant for integrated English literacy and civics education, which we knew was kind of going to be a long shot for us anyway, just based on the other activities around the state to support that. And then a career pathways grant for our business management career cluster that we were not awarded, but that was a category where there were only 6 grants given out across the WTCS system in that specific category. So we'll continue to use that, and I think as we've discussed a little bit with Ben, the dean of that college, that school, that it's a good stepping stone to help us build ideas for the future and potentially revisit in a year or 2 to secure funding for the business program.
And the nice thing is if, when the career pathways, most of the pot was not awarded, there's a director who has a definite philosophy when it comes to career pathways. So if he doesn't approve it, then he doesn't award the dollars, which means then the money goes back into the WTCS pot to distribute. So we'll probably see that money get distributed through the needs that are brought forward by the presidents and the academic leadership and the student services leadership. That's usually what happens, and they start saying, we have money left over, because they do have that money to spend and they need to distribute it in grants. So if he doesn't spend it, it gets absorbed in other areas, and it might lead to other grants. I think we already heard about
I was gonna say we heard about
one that's coming out for English language learning.
Yeah, that every college will be invited to apply and receive at least a minimum of $75,000 to support additional English language learning courses and efforts on campus.
So, a little bit about adult education, family literacy. Yeah, we just went through a competition. What's interesting about this one is they changed the categories. The last 4-year cycle, there were 5 categories, and they went down to 3. The integrated education,
English, language, and civics education.
That one, we were not expecting to get awarded it. We believed that category is really set aside because they are competitive to community-based organizations, and that one tends to go to the literacy councils. So AFLA is not just for technical colleges, it's open outside of the technical college system. But the way that it's structured is the technical colleges are the most competitive when it comes to it, and they're a required partner in it. So now we'll be set, we won't have to do this competition again until 2028 for the 2029,
29 for 2030.
Yeah, 2030.
So when they fund these, do they fund it all or half of what you may be asking for, or what?
Fully fund whatever we ask for. Yeah, they actually formula this, so it was all formulated based on our English language and our adult education. It's based on gains that are made by our students. So if the students are not making gains we lose dollars. If the students are making educational gains, we gain dollars. So they continue to be adjusted throughout based on our numbers. And when I got here, our maintenance of effort was really high, and we were not getting, we were getting less than grant funding. And with all of Amber's work, we've kind of flipped that. So now we're not having to do quite as much in maintenance of effort because we've been making such great strides with our students and their educational gains. You can really see it clearly over the years, how we've really upped our game when it comes to serving those. So. And then we're really, to be part of the corrections and reentry is just a wonderful part of our adult education, family literacy. To get that was very exciting, to continue to be able to provide them the jails, especially with Wood County's expansion, and we're able to do a lot more there. So it's just such an asset with having those.
And is most of that GED or?
Yeah, we try and do a little bit of employability skills there, Amber's always looking at doing like some serve safe, some OSHA 10, just to get some kind of training skills while they're there. So we do a little bit of that as much as we can.
So that, could you just talk a little bit about the adult education and what that looks like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really goes to fund our academic learning centers, our faculty members that teach in adult education, English language learning. That's pretty much what it goes to pay for, is those individuals that are working with our students that need those kind of remediation and skills upbuilding, reading, writing skills, reading skills, yeah. That's what they do. It's really, what's been great about it too is we've really expanded our integrated education training offerings, which we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's partnering the adult education, English language learning with the occupational, so the students aren't having to wait to kind of make all their gains before they're actually able to start the occupational programs. It's just a wonderful partnership, and I think Mid-State's actually, we're considered a leader in integrated education training. Once again, I have to credit Amber for that, but we have a lot of grant funding, and we've put additional grant funding into growing our offerings around integrated education training for our students. And they're going on, the success rates for that program are incredible. So we're really taking them, they come in, they're not even thinking about a program because they need to up their educational, their basic education, and we're getting them into programs and keeping them. That's wonderful.
Is that how they measure the educational gains?
Gains are part of the gains. There's different levels of gains. They do test them throughout. You have the TABE test, which, don't ask me what that acronym means.
Something basic education.
Basic education. Test of test of adult basic, is that it?
I think so.
Okay, I don't know if I ever knew that. I just called it the TABE test. But yes, we test them with the TABE test throughout there to see if they're able to score higher on those tests. But if they're able to get into an integrated education training program and prove success and pass courses, that's also a gain. So if they're passing their courses as part of an integrated education training program, that's a gain. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Going back to the corrections, is that mostly in person or is it mostly like online? I don't know.
In person.
In person.
Push-in service?
Yeah, and with Wood County's expansion, there'll be an opportunity for some virtual or hybrid models.
It all depends. I'm not quite sure where they're at with that, because for the most part, because they do not have access to computers and some online stuff. But during COVID, we definitely, that there's some, depending on the jail and the administration and what's allowed in the jails, because anything unfortunately in a jail could get used. So they all have their different rules.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could speak more to it than I could. So.
Well, it's been a great partnership.
It's been a wonderful.
Really appreciate everything that Mid-State does with our inmate population and trying to help people along the way when they're making mistakes, and if we could help them once they get released and they don't come back, we all win. So appreciate everything that Mid-State does.
Yeah, it is. It's been shown education in jails will reduce recidivism rates.
And any perspective on, is it GED, is it OSHA 10 or whatever, that's most impactful for, when they're out to get back into productive society?
Well, and we hope, we really do the HSCD. It's so hard because the population is so transient there. You can have people coming through and then they're off to Waupun or they're getting placed in somewhere else. They're leaving and sometimes they just have to get transferred to a different, because of occupancy, they might get transferred in and out. So we do what we can while they're there. So the ones that are longer term is the only ones that we will really give opportunities for. If we know that they're going to be staying longer term and then they're going to be jobbing, hopefully job out, or they're going to be released back into the community and they can come to Mid-State. Those are the ones that work. I know that Amber works with the jail staff to go, okay, this person is going to be getting released. Let's get them into an OSHA 10 class. Let's get them into a Serve Safe class.
Cool.
Let's work on transitions. And then post-release, we do follow those students and try and get them back into, get them enrolled after they leave. So it's not just teaching them. Trish, who's the instructor, really works hard and maintains relationships and likes to see those students come back and really encourages them to come back.
Our next set of awards is Perkins. This is federally funded awards. These are essentially appropriations. We still have to write an application. These are 1-year awards. This year we had a pretty significant increase in the Perkins funding we were seeing. But we have 5 different programs we submit for here, the largest being student success. So this supports all of the academic learning center, advising, tutoring. This is really a large bucket of those direct student supports. We also have strengthening programs. We elected to write towards general education course completion and supports. So this will help with any attainment gaps. We have specific programs we'll target where we know that there's underachievement in those general education courses, because sometimes someone might be doing excellent in their program area, but that written communication or that oral communication class might be really holding them back from finishing that program. So we provide additional supports to those. Non-traditional occupations to support students in a career or a program where they're the atypical gender. So we've been really fortunate at Mid-State to have some non-traditional occupation instructors come in, especially like in our welding programs, to be able to help further encourage those NTO students. So we're seeing great growth there, so to continue to provide those unique supports for that population of students. Targeting attainment gaps in CTE. This one actually has a change in name. You may previously have heard about capacity building due to some of the federal guidance on diversity, equity, inclusion, and some of that language. The WTCS system, as well as then all the 16 technical colleges, have now followed a new model of what that bucket of funds is called and some of the activities around that. Mid-State has really done a great job of making sure that our language was supportive of all of the student populations that can be supported in that. So we weren't required to make any revisions to that. But that really just helps to support an inclusive and supportive educational environment. That includes educating staff, providing some additional supports to students. And because of the way that Perkins is written, we are still allowed to specifically designate funds to support special populations such as racial minorities, gender minorities, etc. And then lastly, we have career prep. This is to support our dual credit and high school students. This includes awarding some small grants out to our dual credit high schools in the district. So really just additional funding to encourage students to be able to get some credit before they come join us for a program.
So AFLA and Perkins are both federally funded grants. So it comes formula down from the federal government into our state system. But then the next one is appropriations. We're going to start talking about our state grants, and this is part of this whole pot of money. So years ago, a lot more of the general purpose revenue grants, when I first started in it, were all more formula grants. But then in about, I think it was in 2012, the state legislature just decided to lump sum a pot of money to the WTCS system to distribute. And so the general purpose revenue grants that we write for became very competitive. They were not competitive before then. They became competitive in 2012. And so that's why we have these annual competitions. But we still have some appropriations in there. So these are our 1-year awards. We write them every year. These are based on formulas. So professional growth and occupational competency are all based on the number of faculty we serve. So we get based on the formula of the whole system, the percentage of faculty we serve. That's how we get our formula grants for that. We use it to support staff development. Occupational competency, I love this. We're the only college in the state that does this, is take some of our formula funds and put it towards occupational competency, where we allow our faculty to go spend some time in our field of work. That is invaluable. I can't believe none of the other colleges are doing it. And even Mandy Johnson, who oversees this, she goes, I really wish other people would do this and see the benefit of it. And I think it's just a great thing we do here, and I'm very proud that Midstate has chosen to spend their dollars that way, because I think it's wonderful.
$8,000 doesn't sound like much for
Oh,
them.
we have to match to 8,000, so it's 16. So and then Karen is always generous, and if there's more faculty, she always finds a way to put more faculty through. So
Faculty love it.
yes.
And is that typically 20 hours, 40 hours, 80 hours?
We typically award up to, as many of the faculty that will apply, will award up to 40 hours of work outside of one of their non-instructional times. So a lot of times over winter break or in the summer, faculty will jump on board. And there's an application process, and we have criteria and a team that reviews their applications. But it is something that faculty really have appreciated.
And it's unique to Midstate. Okay, and then emergency assistance, we do receive formula funds every year based on our number of Pell students, that we can use those funds to support student emergencies.
Do you typically, like something like that, do you have to show proof that you've used all of that fund so that you get it next year, and then, you know, like you're actually using it for what it's
Yeah,
or-
and so with our workforce innovation grant this year, we have a lot more money that we've used a lot of that for student services, I mean, for student emergencies. And so we didn't use as much, but we are able to roll that over to the next year. So they allow us rollovers. We don't have to use it in the same year we get it. That's really wonderful. They allow a lot of flexibility for that. And we can tell them, yeah, we had some additional emergency grant funds this year, so we're gonna use these next year. So we don't have to really prove that we're using them. There's definitely the need. Even the Midstate Foundation also supports student emergency grants because the needs very much exceed that $12,000,
Right.
so.
Yeah, in a typical year, we wouldn't have funds left over, but we'll start with a small
Yeah.
bucket next year to add to
Yes,
that.
we're able to push it forward.
Our next grant is the completion grant. This is also a one-year award. This was a total of $225,000 that really allows us to support our program students, to retain them semester over semester, and also to support program completion within that 3 years for a diverse student population. So thinking about all those traditionally underserved categories. And it specifically includes funding for advising, financial counseling, especially when students are maybe recurrent users of that financial emergency assistance. And then also this supports a lot of our tutoring and also a 24/7 online tutoring service called BrainFuse that we subscribe to as a college that every student has access to.
Okay. Developing markets this year. This one, we are gonna be focused on the heating and ventilation, air conditioning and refrigeration technology. Really got that started, and this will be the first, we get to pay for one full cohort to go through this. So it's a wonderful way to launch programs. When we were in culinary, we used the developing market grants to help launch that first cohort too. So a lot of our programs, right now we also have mechanical design that we have a developing market grant for, and we used it to also launch advanced manufacturing recently. So this is a great pot of money to help launch programs. So we can use it to do faculty and curriculum development, professional development, and equipment and supplies.
And then we have our core industry. We'll be supporting 2 different programs, but the first is paramedic technician. So core industry is really for programs that we're seeing a critical need for in our areas, that the job market demands it. So we applied for and received a 2-year grant for our paramedic technician program, the amount of $230,000. It's going to allow us to try an innovative approach to instruction of our paramedic program, where we will actually have staff on site at district fire departments to support their hiring efforts. So the city of Stevens Point and the city of Marshfield have both passed referendums to hire on additional firefighter paramedics. And what we've heard through our advisory councils is a lot of times they come in with their EMT certification, but then within 6 months they have to have 6 months or a year they have to have that paramedic certification, and it's really a struggle to get them to work to support their quota, to make sure they have enough folks on staff at their departments, and also be able to allow them time in the classroom to do both the education and the skills. So our model is really going to look like having additional faculty in this area to be able to redesign the curriculum to allow it to be supported in a hybrid model where Midstate instructor will still do the delivery of all of the content. And then they're on-site, they have different folks at various fire departments that are actually employed as adjunct or part-time instructors that will be able to do the skills-based training. So they'll be able to be at their station supporting that they have enough folks on staff for that shift, and if they're not on a call, they'll be able to go through those skills and do that hands-on training. So we'll be funding faculty, academic supports to help them, because we all know that online learning isn't necessarily everyone's easiest format, so we'll have support for that. And then also a high fidelity mannequin simulator and any supplies that those departments need.
This is our other core industry grant around early childhood education. One of the things I have to talk about core industry this year, really these were designed, the discussion around this started in advisory committees. And then were brought into Cougar Cage, like our advisory committees are saying this is what we need. This is another great example. Midstate allows us to be innovative with our grants, and this to me is one of the most innovative models we're going to try. It's a pilot. We have grant funding to try it, and we're going to partner with a child care facility where we're going to have a hybrid evening cohort of students, which includes childcare for their students and meals for their students while they're going through training. So it's going to be a very unique run through of the technical diploma. Advisory committees like, we need to do something different. We can't get our individuals trained. And I sat with the advisory committee group to help, and they sat down and helped design this. I thought it was probably one of the coolest experiences I had since I've been doing grants. So very innovative, thinking outside the box, and I really kind of sad I'm not going to be here to see this one through, but
Has the partner location been identified?
no, we're gonna have to vet it out.
Okay.
But I think we're looking at first someone in Wisconsin Rapids, so because we already have programming in Stevens Point, but we have to give everyone a chance. I think the plan is to kind of go out for RFP on it.
And the other really fun thing about this grant, this is what I'm really excited about too, is essentially it's going to allow us to fund an entirely separate classroom at whatever location we move forward with doing this. So instead of having to lug supplies back and forth from Stevens Point to whatever location we choose, it allows us to get outside of that Stevens Point based program to be in one of our other communities and have a full classroom set up to say, here's your classroom, you walk into it 2 nights a week, and your kids will go here, and you come to this classroom and it's fully supplied and ready to go for our students to learn.
Cool.
And lastly, we mentioned this grant a little bit already, but the Integrated Education and Training IET grant, we applied for $200,000 to support workforce and technical training for adult learners. The 3 programs we're looking at supporting for the next fiscal year would be our Certified Nursing Assistant, Manufacturing Practices, and Early Childhood Education. So CNA, there's a huge need in our community, and this helps folks that, through one course now have professional skills to go out and get a well-sustaining job. Manufacturing practices, we started developing that this year through some other grant funding, but we'll really continue to build on that with community partners to get folks that might be ELL or adult basic education needed students to be able to get them into manufacturing careers, since we have a Meta and we have a major manufacturing hub in our district. And then early childhood education, since the core industry grant will allow us the first semester to really build our curriculum and then deploy in the spring semesters next year, this will allow students that need additional supports to be ready to enter that cohort if they would like to, or any other cohort. It's definitely not restrictive, but definitely intentionally plan that so we can get the greatest number of students ready and eligible for that innovative cohort coming up in the spring. Go ahead.
What do you mean by manufacturing practices?
So it's essentially think of like an introduction to manufacturing. So they start learning their terminology, the different types of tools. So it's really setting the stage that if they chose to go into manufacturing, what career path might be good for them, and also especially for folks that may have lower literacy attainment or are English as a second language, it allows them to learn that vocabulary before being put into like a full program course to sort of serve as a bridge program.
I was just wondering if that was MSSC certification?
No, there isn't.
No, there's no certification with that. It really is just a,
It's kind of a similar type program,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
but just get their feedback. So we work with, we talked about already our advisory committees, but the workforce development boards, job centers, and a lot of community resources to give these individuals a full array of support to allow them to get either into an employment or post-secondary program if they choose to continue.
So you can see how comparison from last year to this year, how we did. But this is just kind of how we did on the competition. This is not inclusive of everything we're managing in FY26, because we do have some large federal projects that are also going on. But yeah, a lot of this has to do with the way that AFLA, they changed up the AFLA competition, not getting a Career Pathways grant, and then not doing consortium. Next year, I fully expect that we will build consortiums again. I think everyone just took a year pause so we could manage our other federal projects, but I fully expect the WTCS colleges to start partnering up on some consortium grants. A lot of those grants you see too over on FY24-25 are 2-year grants, and so they're continuing into this next year for management as well. So.
Yeah, so if we have the IEG grant approved, which we fully expect, knock on wood, we'll receive that as well. We'll have just over $2 million compared to $2.5 million last year. But when you look at the number of grants, pretty successful year considering that we have a much smaller number of grants, but a pretty comparable outcome, especially knowing that last year we had 2 large consortium grants that aided about $400,000 to that funding. So.
Very impressive.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Did a great job, didn't they?
With all of the news and consternation with federal grants, Columbia, Harvard,
Yeah.
are any of the federal grants
They're all at risk.
risk?
They're all at risk.
Okay.
They're all at risk. But we'll keep moving forward until we know, some direction. Even the state grants are at risk because depending on what the dollars are that the federal give the state, the state may not. If they get less, they may reduce what they would do from a state grant. So to be honest with you, I would say everything that they just shared is at risk.
Yeah.
So over, $2 million. But again, it could also mean that there could just be some changes and maybe there will be additional funding that we may qualify for. So we're not, definitely not doom and gloom. We're gonna wait until we know and then we'll adjust if
From
we
there.
need to, but really it's all at risk.
And I do have to say that the system office has been incredibly supportive of working through the unknowns and the questions. We talked a little bit in Perkins that there was some language change, but they've been very transparent with us in sharing what they know when they know it. As soon as they know something, we know something, and that's in the form of additional meetings. And then we also have a monthly meeting where we talk just about Perkins grants, but we usually delve into other topics as well. So the system office as a whole has been incredibly supportive and a great resource as we navigate the unknown in this grant season.
And I just want to acknowledge, Rick, we're gonna miss Mickey. I wanna just thank her publicly for all that she's done on all the major programming, the smaller program, and you've done an amazing job. And I think you can tell that she's done an amazing job bringing Sarah into the scope of all of this as well. So I know we're gonna be in good hands with Sarah as we move forward. I'm really excited to have Sarah now make it her own. So, and Karen, you've done a great job from a leadership standpoint. So we're very pleased. Very pleased. I know Karen has some decisions she'll be making regarding the foundation position that, and so forth. But we're excited with everything that's coming out of Grant. So it's only going to continue, Sarah. So, but thank you, Mickey.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.